This is the story of Treasure Planet. To play the story right now, press the flashing forward button. You can move through the story by using the forward and back buttons. You can switch between playing the story or reading it yourself by clicking the mode button. Click the pause button to make the story pause or run. You can choose which scene to play by using the scene selector. You can quit at any time by pressing the quit button. So press the flashing forward button and let's begin now. From the time he was a young boy, Jim Hawkins dreamed of Treasure Planet. He heard legends of the space pirate Captain Nathaniel Flint, who had roamed the universe stealing gold, jewels, and solar crystals, then hiding them on the mysterious planet. Jim longed to go there and see the treasure himself. But as Jim grew older, those dreams faded. He built a solar surfer and spent his days riding it, gazing into space and getting into trouble. Jim lived with his mother, Sarah, who struggled to make a living as owner of the B.E.N. As she served lunch one day, she talked about Jim with her friend, Dr. Delbert Doppler.
I know he had some rough spots earlier this year, but I really think that he's starting to turn a corner.
Just then, the door flew open, and Jim was hustled inside by a pair of robo-constables.
We apprehended your son operating a solar vehicle in a restricted area.
After the constables left, Sarah turned to her son.
Jim, I just don't want to see you throw away your entire future.
He sighed.
Yeah, what future?
Wandering outside, Jim saw a space cruiser plunge through the clouds and crash nearby. He hurried to the wreckage and pulled out a wizened alien who was clutching an ancient space chest. The alien was badly injured, so Jim took him to the inn. As Jim's mother and Doppler looked on, the alien opened the chest, handed Jim a round bundle, and gasped.
The cyborg. Beware the cyborg.
Then he slumped over, dead. A low rumbling filled the inn. A moment later, Jim saw a schooner land. A group of space pirates approached the inn, their weapons drawn. Jim called to the others.
Quick, we gotta go!
As they escaped in Doppler's carriage, they looked back to see the B.E.N. explode in flames. At Doppler's estate, Jim unwrapped the bundle to reveal a gleaming sphere with strange markings. It began to glow, projecting a 3D map of stars and planets. Doppler pointed.
That's the Magellanic Cloud, the Coral Galaxy. Wait, what's this? What's this? Why, it's...
Jim grinned.
Treasure Planet. Mom, this is it.
With that treasure, we could rebuild the Benbow 100 times over.
Delbert, would you please explain how ridiculous this is?
Doppler agreed.
It's totally preposterous. That's why I'm going with you.
Doppler hired a ship called the RLS Legacy. A few days later, he and Jim went on board, where they met the first officer and crew. As Jim and Doppler watched, a cat-like creature descended from the rigging.
I'm Captain Amelia. You've met my first officer, Mr. Arrow. Sterling, tough, dependable, honest, brave and true.
Amelia took them to her quarters, where she examined the treasure map.
Fascinating.
She kept the map, locking it in her gun case for safekeeping. The captain assigned Jim to work as a cabin boy in the kitchen with the cook, John Silver. Silver had a quick smile and a twinkle in his eye, but the entire right side of his body was made up of metal gears, ratchets, and flywheels. Jim gasped.
Cyborg.
Silver handed Jim a bowl of strange-looking stew. Suddenly, the spoon came to life, turning into a little pink protoplasmic creature. It took a sip and grinned. Seeing Jim stare, Silver chuckled.
He's a morph. I rescued the little shapeshifter on Proteus 1.
The Legacy set sail for Treasure Planet. Jim, assigned to mop the deck, couldn't help gaping at the crew. Onus, Oxymoron, Birdbrain, and a spider-like skulker named Scroop, who frowned at Jim.
Cabin boys should learn to mind their own business.
Scroop reached for Jim's neck with a sharp claw, but Silver stopped him. When Jim left, Silver glared at Scroop.
After all the finagling, getting us hired as an upstanding crew, you want to blow the whole mutiny before it's time?
Over the next few weeks, Jim spent hours working beside Silver. He began to trust the old cyborg and even shared some of his hopes and dreams, and was proud of what a good spacer he was becoming. Slowly, a friendship developed. Then one day, as they were working, a huge jolt rocked the Legacy. Doppler peered through a telescope.
The star pellucid. It's gone supernova!
Moments later, they were bombarded by fiery debris from the exploding star. Just as one giant shard was about to crash into the ship, it slowed, stopped, and began moving back toward the star. Doppler stared.
It's devolving into a black hole!
The Legacy and everything around it was being sucked into the black hole. Their only chance was to ride out on an energy wave. Amelia called out.
Hothead! Make sure all lifelines are secured good and tight!
Jim tied off the ropes as Silver had taught him.
Lifeline secured, Captain!
There was a blinding flash. Mr. Arrow lost his grip and tumbled off the ship, but his lifeline held. As Arrow pulled himself back, Scroop secretly slashed the lifeline. The Legacy rode the energy wave to safety, but Arrow disappeared into the void. The crew cheered their escape. Then Scroop spoke up.
I'm afraid Mr. Arrow has been lost. His lifeline was not secured.
Jim could hardly believe it.
No, I checked them all.
He fled to the rigging, where later that night, Silver found him all alone, gazing at the stars.
I screwed up. I mean, for 2 seconds, I thought that maybe I could do something right, but... I just forget it.
Silver knew Scroop was responsible, but he couldn't tell Jim.
Now, you listen to me, James Hawkins. You got the makings of greatness in you. Stick to it, no matter the squalls.
The next day, Jim was awakened by the shapeshifter Morph, who led him on a playful chase through the galley and into a food barrel. Before Jim could climb out, he heard Scroop discussing plans for a mutiny with John Silver. Jim was stunned. Scroop chided Silver.
It's that boy. thinks you have a soft spot for him.
Silver couldn't let the pirates know he liked Jim.
I care about one thing and one thing only. Flint's throne.
Just then, a cry rang out on deck. Treasure Planet was straight ahead. While the other pirates ran on deck, Silver saw Jim slip out and head for the captain's quarters.
Blast it all.
Realizing Jim must have heard their plans, Silver transformed his arm into a sword and barked out orders to the crew.
Change in plan, lads! We move now!
They broke down the captain's door but found the room empty. Amelia and Doppler were racing to a longboat, hoping to escape. Jim grabbed the map, joined them in the boat, and they blasted off for Treasure Planet. As they approached the planet, a laser ball from the Legacy tore through the mainsail. The boat crash-landed onto Treasure Planet, injuring Amelia.
Oh, don't fuss. Cup of tea and I'll be right as rain.
Jim reached for the treasure map. It melted in his hand, changing into the grinning Morph.
Morph, where's the map? Are you serious? It's back on the ship?
Amelia sent Jim to scout the planet for a safe place to hide. Along the way, he found a beat-up little robot who was thrilled to see him.
Oh, this is fantastic! A carbon-based life form come to rescue me at last!
Jim learned that the robot, whose name was Ben, had been marooned 100 years and had even known the pirate Flint.
Wait, I remember. Lots of treasure, buried in its centroid of the mechanism. And Captain Flint wanted to make sure nobody could ever get to his treasure, so I helped him to... No, that ain't accessible! Rainbow!
Ben pointed to a hole in his head.
My missing piece? My primary memory circuit? You haven't found it, have you?
Ben lived in an ancient tower where they set up headquarters with Doppler and the injured Amelia. As they settled in, Jim heard laser fire. Silver and his men had found them. They held off the pirates, and that night, Jim, Ben, and Morph sneaked through a tunnel to the pirates' longboat. Jim piloted it back to the Legacy, where he turned to Ben.
Okay, I'll get the map. You wait here. Roger, Jimmy. All neutralized laser cannons. Start!
Ben rattled off to the control room before Jim could stop him. Jim found the map, but as he picked it up, he saw Scroop lurking nearby.
Cabin boy.
Scroop brandished his claw like a switchblade. As he was about to strike, the ship went dark. Ben had thrown the wrong switch on the control panel.
Whoops! Okay, don't panic.
Ben threw another switch.
This has gotta be cannons.
Ben floated off the deck. He had shut off the ship's gravity. Above deck, Scroop slashed at Jim and missed. With no gravity, he tumbled overboard and disappeared into deep space. Jim hung on to a sail as Ben restored the gravity. Jim and the others returned to the planet and rushed into the tower.
I got the map.
There was a hearty chuckle.
Fine work, Jimbo.
Silver and the pirates stepped from the shadows. They had captured the tower and tied up Doppler and Amelia. Silver took the map and tried to open it. He couldn't, so he thrust it at Jim.
Open it.
You want the map? You're taking me, too.
Silver nodded.
We'll take him, Mark.
The map led them to a rocky cliff where Jim noticed the same strange markings he had seen on the map. Matching up the markings, he pressed the map into the cliff, and it clicked into place. Suddenly, beams of energy shot through the air, and a 100-foot triangle opened in front of them. Between them was a control panel that was a map of the universe. They peered through the portal and saw the Lagoon Nebula halfway across the galaxy. Jim grinned.
So that's how Flint did it. He used his portal to roam the universe, stealing treasure.
Jim pressed a button on the portal's control panel, and the triangle opened into Flint's treasure chamber. Jim and the others stepped into the core of Treasure Planet. Silver fell to his knees.
A lifetime of searching, but at long last, I can touch it.
Nearby was Flint's ship on top of a mountain of gold. Jim and Ben investigated. On the ship, they found Flint's skeleton clutching a shiny metal part. Jim picked it up.
Ben, I think I just found your mind. Hold still.
He inserted it, and Ben sat up straight.
It's all flooding back! Oh, my memories! Flint wanted to make sure that nobody could ever steal his treasure, so he rigged this whole planet to blow higher than a Calypsian kite!
There was an explosion, and energy beams shot everywhere. Jim sent Ben to save the others, while he tried to get the treasure-laden ship aloft. He fired up the engines and lifted off the ground. But he wasn't alone.
I like you, lad. But I've come too far to let you stand between me and my treasure.
As Silver spoke, the ship hit an energy beam and lurched, knocking them overboard. Silver clung to the bow, but Jim fell into a crevice. The only way for Silver to save Jim was to let go of the ship and all his dreams of treasure.
Oh, yes! Me for a boat!
Silver let go, pulling back his young friend, who meant more to him than gold. Together they watched as an energy beam vaporized the ship and all its treasure. Doppler and Amelia, meanwhile, were tied up on one of the boats. They broke free and returned with Ben to the Legacy. Streaking from space, they rescued Jim and Silver, but during blastoff, a mast was broken. Doppler watched grimly.
That means we'll never clear the planet's explosion in time.
Jim turned to Amelia.
There's a portal back there. You can get us out of here.
Silver turned his arm into a welding torch and helped Jim build a solar circle.
There you go.
Jim hopped on and led the ship to the triangle, reaching it just as the planet exploded. Jim pushed a button on the control panel and rocketed through the portal to safety, with the Legacy right behind. Jim landed on the Legacy, where he was greeted by Amelia.
I'd be proud to recommend you to the Interstellar Academy. They could use a man like you.
But Silver was missing. Jim found him in the longboat bay with Morph, preparing a boat for escape.
What say you ship out with us, lad?
Jim just smiled.
I met this old cyborg, and he taught me that I could chart my own course. That's what I'm gonna do.
Silver proudly looked at Jim.
Look at you, glowing like a solar fire.
He gave Jim a hug and left Morph behind to watch over him.
Oh, and one more thing. As for your dear mother, to rebuild that inn of hers.
He tossed Jim a handful of jewels, then winked and set sail for the stars. Jim returned home and, using Silver's jewels, helped his mother rebuild the Benbow Inn. With Amelia's help, he entered the academy and graduated with honors. Jim Hawkins went on to a proud career in space, but no matter how far he traveled, he never forgot the old cyborg and his parting words.
You're something special, Jim. You're going to rattle the stars, you are.
Silver had shown him that dreams can come true and that friendship was a treasure greater than all the gold in the galaxy. If you really want to quit, click on the picture of Scroop. To play the story again, click on the picture of Jim. Click on B.E.N to sample more CD read-alongs and other products from Walt Disney Records at Disney.com.